many challenges. We get exposed to a lot of stressors. And now, what happens when they affect us? We react. And when we react, it brings about several different basal emotions. And sometimes we are very angry, sometimes we are very frustrated. Sometimes we even feel like, it's too difficult for us to bear and live this life. How can we, if let's say even a tsunami were to be coming, how can we remain like the eye of the storm? For those who might have known, the eye of the storm is supposed to be the safest place because all around it just sort of whirls and collects everything around. So how can we remain in our own center like the eye of the storm when we have to face all these pressures in our life? So that's something that we are going to be sharing with you. And other thing that we want to share with you is, look, we have spent like around good 3 weeks with you, right? Now it's also important for you to know what happens within you, because we have run some polls. You have given some feedbacks in terms of how your experiences have been. It's been very overwhelming. Thank you very much for it. But it may be good for you also to know what happens within you when you meditate with heartfulness to bring about that sort of an experience. So that is something, Dr. Ayushi, who is, along with me today. She is the master's, in physiotherapy in women's health. She is going to be sharing some of those research things and also will be leading us into meditation later today. So without spending much time, let's move into the topic. So we have already looked into 3 of the sessions. So for those who are joining us for the first time today and probably might have missed some of the continuity of what we had covered in the last 3 sessions, in the first session, we gave everyone an experience of pranahuti. Pranahuti is basically a yogic energy that comes into play whenever you meditate on your heart in the heartfulness approach. This yogic energy makes a big difference. Whatever I may say, when you meditate with this energy, you will be able to have a shift in your consciousness, which you will be able to instantly feel. Now, that we looked at it as an experience. We also had several different things covered as part of that first presentation in terms of why to meditate on the heart, why not elsewhere, those kind of things. In the next session, we covered about stress detox. Everyone has a lot of stress. So the question is, how or what technique does heartfulness has that we can apply to sort of detox ourselves so we are able to release the stress and then come back into our normal self. So that is something we covered in the second session. In the third session, we looked into about fear and anxiety, and very importantly, we covered how stress is very different from anxiety, because everyone sometimes have this misnomer that stress and anxiety are one and the same, but they are not. So we looked into how anxiety is different from stress, and we looked into a completely a different technique. And we also had an experience of that particular technique, how each one of us can make use of the technique to release ourselves of any of the anxiety. And also if there are any fear towards any particular moments or any particular incidences that have happened in our life, how to detox ourselves from it. So we did go through those ones. Today we are going to be building on top of this. Now, what are we going to be covering today? 3 simple ones. First thing is, like, we are just going to look at how outer chaos affects us. Many things happen in our life, but do we really understand how badly they affect us in our life? We will look at some of the scientific studies, so you will get to understand that. Basically, when we define a particular problem, then the need becomes more apparent for a solution. And then you can look at how heartfulness comes in to be that effective solution. The second thing, what we are going to be doing is, we are just going to look at what happens within our system just with 12 weeks of practice of heartfulness. We don't have to really talk about 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, lifetime. Let's leave all those things away. What just happens within just 12 weeks of heartfulness practice? There are several scientific research studies, there is continuously being researched upon with respect to heartfulness. There was one that got published in January of this year, which just spoke about what happens within just 21 days of practice of heartfulness. Anyways, in this presentation, we will give you a sneak peek into what happens with just 12 weeks of heartfulness practice. And then we will have an experience of heartfulness relaxation and meditation. Now, I would like to have a poll run. And Advaita ji, probably you can launch that poll for all of us.
Okay, we'll just launch the poll now.
Okay. So if you see on your screen, for those who are joining through Zoom, you will find that there are 5 questions. These are just 5 questions for you to have an assessment or a contemplation of what has happened in your life in this last 1 month. And very importantly, in Heartfulness, we speak about self-awareness and how heartfulness can help in building self-awareness. So we want to just look at how we are feeling at this particular moment. So just take a few minutes, just answer those 5 questions, and then we will move ahead into the session. So it's 10:09. Let's take maybe a minute or so, and then we will just move forward. Okay, so keep answering this while we just move forward into the session. The first thing that we want to talk about is loss of loved ones. You see this when we talk about outer chaos, right? There are several times or several different variants of it. We are just going to cover a few of them, which are more prevalent in our life or something that we are often exposed to. So you can relate to it. The first one that we want to talk about is the loss of loved ones. You see, it is basically said that the loss of loved ones generally result in a psychiatric disorders. Very importantly, whenever we talk about bereavement, right, there are different types of stress that are available. There are these acute stress, there is episodic stress, there are different types of stresses available. Bereavement is considered to be one of the major life stressor, because for anybody who have lost a loved one would know, or at least for somebody who have witnessed their near or dear ones losing their own loved ones, that it takes a lot of time for them to really cope up with that loss and then come out of it. It's not easy. So all the time when we feel that lack, when we feel that loss, and when we go through those emotions, it continues to hurt us, it affects us. One of the scientific studies says that if, let's say that you go through a sort of a bereavement in your life, and let's say that after a few years you are able to come out of it, but basically like what happens is there is a later onset of physical and mental disorders, is what one of the scientific researchers says. So basically we may feel that like within few years we have somehow coped up with it and we have come out of it, but the effect or the impact of what we went through has its effect several years after. In the first session when we spoke about in the experience pranahuti, and also in the subsequent ones, we have been talking repeatedly about impressions, how whenever we experience things in our life, how they leave a vibrational imprint in our system, and how it hardwires some of the cognates in our brain and how they really affect us. So that is one scientific study for you. Now going into the next one, there is another scientific study which is with respect to marital separation. People who go through this marital separation, especially with kids, or somebody who are very early in their marriage, or sometimes people who have gone through several years of life living together and then have to go through this. It's not easy at all completely. you know as I just told you, it's one of an acute stressor. So like something that it's not easy for you to just like that finish and then come through, because it throws a person into a enormous amount of uncertainty. Now what they have found is, because of the hyperactive emotional reaction in our system, there is a very huge impact to our cardiovascular health. That is something that people who go through it would be able to feel it. Now that is with respect to this one study on marital separation. The next one is about financial crisis. There is one scientific study that actually says, or even the economists, basically they say that every 7 to 10 years you can expect a recession. So that is the reason why, like in 2000 2001 there was, and then again in 2008 you have, and then they always say that the cycle repeats itself, and then the economy bounce back from there. But think about people who have their own kids, and who invest their money in RESP or so, thinking that they want to fund their kids education. And in 2008, when the entire system started to collapse, imagine the parents who were just having their kids at 16 years and they were banking on that money to fund their education. How difficult it would have been for them. Think about people who are planning the retirement in that particular age, and when they lost about $1 million when Lehman Brothers had to like file for bankruptcy, and then it sort of set forth a chain reaction. Can you imagine how difficult it is? And there is no guarantee for us to say that we are like sort of foolproof from all these things, how much ever we may diversify all our investments and whatever. When these kind of things happen, they affect us because it's a lifetime of planning and investments into that, right? So what one of the scientific studies says is from 1970 to 2011, when they did this research, they found that generally whenever there are these periods of financial crashes, there's been a very spike in the suicide rates that has happened in the world. Now, the next one that I wanted to cover is about natural disasters. Sometimes we feel like, it doesn't affect us. What happens in Brazil does not really affect us. You see, what does it mean for you when you hear that the global warming, the climate changes are really like happening, and how it really, we sometimes things are not so very relative to us. Sometimes things are not so very tangible for us, so we don't really feel it. For example, if you take Indonesia, right, it's one country, and it's one of the fastest sinking countries. So every year there is like around 25 centimeters or so, it keeps sinking. In the last 10 years, one of the studies say that it has gone about 2.5 meters into water, the northern Jakarta. 2.5 meters is around 8 feet. So people now have gone into their lifestyle of just only living with boats. There are no cars, no bikes, nothing. It's only with boats that they have to be living. Now, what does it really mean for you? Think about a part of people, just put ourselves into that kind of situation, how drastically the life changes. Their children who are going to be living, and what sort of a future that they are going to be having. Think about another place, for example, Maldives. They say that Maldives has another 30 years or so. That's all. And after that, you won't really find Maldives on the map. That's drastic change. And, for people who are living there. And they are also saying that this is going to be true for some of the parts of Bahamas as well. So, like, as we are living, there are so much of things that are actually happening around us. And either we are directly involved in those kind of situation, or we get to hear those things. Like when the news comes that there are these bushfires which are like burning mountains and mountains in US. And so California is like suddenly like becoming so very hot, the seasonal rainfall fails. Or think about like the Amazon forest, which was just continuously like blazing because of rampant deforestation, and which has been absorbing the greenhouse gases. We have lost the lungs of this entire world sitting over there has got damaged. All those kind of things has some sort of a serious effect on us, directly or indirectly. Now all these things, there are several scientific studies which measure about the mental health impacts, either by being directly involved or by being indirectly involved. So that is something that I wanted to share with you through one of these studies. Now the next one, I want you all to take a look at this picture here. Now I want you all to seriously think about which one is you. You have, this is a common thing that generally whenever the trees grow, right, you will find that generally when the trees grow, the roots grow 2 times more than what it grows over the ground. The reason is because if there is going to be a tsunami, or if there is going to be a hurricane, whatever, the trees will have to survive. And what keeps it on the ground is actually its roots. Now you will find that naturally those which don't really have much of the depth in it, they all get washed out. So the key thing for us to think about is, many people whenever we talk about meditation or any of the coping strategies in terms of what you have to do to sort of gain your ground, people say, what, I'm very busy, I don't have time for meditation. What, I will actually like take up to it whenever I'm retired, I'll take it up when I'm 60 years old. But basically, what you see on the screen says that if you are very busy, right? If you have a very, very busy lifestyle, then you have to grow 2 times more inside. Otherwise, you are just going to be that, when the hurricane comes and you're going to be part of that periphery and you're just going to get washed out from there. So it's something for us to really keep in mind when we look at this. So next time when we think that, what, I don't have time for yoga, I don't have time for, looking after my health, I don't have time for my own meditation, this has to really remind us, next stressor that actually comes in our life, we will not be able to sustain it if we don't have inner centered sort of a anchor in our own heart. Now with that said, I would like to hand it over to Dr. Ayushi. She will take us further with some of the research studies that have been done in heartfulness, and then will lead us into meditation. Ayushi?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Thank you, Vishwa. Can you just show your screen again?
Yep. Give me 1 minute. Let me just put you on spotlight.
Sure.
Okay, fantastic. Yes, you're good to go, Ayushi.
Just a second. I don't see it yet.
You can see my screen, right, Ayushi?
No, 1 second. Yes, now I do see it.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vishwa, for covering and explaining us how beautifully that the outer chaos can affect us inner, like, it can lead to that inner clutter and can give us that imbalance. And how you told us that we have the freedom to choose, or our choice to choose which tree we want to become, comparing the roots as our inner world and the tree bushes as the outer world. So basically, we have now covered and we have come to the conclusion that heart is our inner treasure, and we have to regulate it. We have to tune into our heart so that we can attain the balance of inner poise, which we all are craving for. So with that, now I will walk you through, or I'll share some scientific studies about how heartfulness actually helps in developing or maintaining that inner poise. So this first study is about the effect of heartfulness practice, which was done in Pennsylvania, Wellspan York Hospital in the year 2015. It was done by the Department of Academic Internal Medicine. It was mainly done on hospital staff, where they conducted the experiment on two groups. The number one group was of physician, nurses, and the hospital staff. And the other group was just doing it as is. Like, there are two groups. One group is actually doing heartfulness practice of meditation, and another group is not doing anything for 12 weeks. And they measured the group by putting all the electrodes and everything. And they measured anxiety, fear, emotional exhaustion, burnout levels, even the telomere lengths, as well as the insomnia. So now let's look at one by one into this. So what's about emotional exhaustion? We all go through the burnout phase. We all go through that emotional exhaustion phase, right? And how they found out that the group which was practicing heartfulness for 12 weeks has been shown in reduction of emotional exhaustion by 32.9%. That's actually a very good percentage if you see in the research perspective. Another thing is the lack of personal accomplishment. We all feel that lack of worth. We all feel like, the insufficiency. We all generalize have the lack of self-esteem going through us. We always feel that, oh, are we doing it enough? Are we enough? In not only in the work world, even in our family life, we go through that, right? So with the practice in this study, they saw that the group which practiced heartfulness meditation for 12 weeks, they saw that the personal accomplishment feeling went up by 4.8%. Another thing which was very much interesting was the telomere length. So before I say that the telomere length was increased, let's understand what telomeres are. So telomeres are basically, it's said that scientifically that it's an essential part of the human cells which affect as our cells age. So they are the caps at the end of each strand of DNA of our chromosome. So if I put it in a simple words, it's like, the shoelaces, the tip of the shoelace, if you see there's a plastic cap at the tip of the shoelace, that plastic cap is basically our telomeres. So it helps to protect our chromosomes. Okay, and as we age, it gets shortened. There are other factors also which shortens our telomeres, and one of the most important factors are stress. So in this study, they also found that with the practice of 12 weeks of only heartfulness meditation, the telomeres length was also increased, which I found very profound. Another thing which really interests me is the insomnia. We all find it difficult nowadays to actually sleep well. Even if, you have done everything, you're tired with all your day's work, and as soon as you hit the bed, and you close your eyes, the thought starts to go on and on and on. And it's very hard for us to actually relax ourselves and sleep. But this study actually was done on the chronic insomnia patients. So it has been shown that it has reduces insomnia by 50%. Wow, it's like amazing, right? We could all sleep well. What else do we need? If at least for 6 hours or 7 hours, if we could actually sleep in a nice way, a proper way, right? So now let's understand another study which I would like to share with you guys. Vishwa, next slide, please. It's the effect of heartfulness on the brain activity. So see, there are many scientific study over so many years which has proved to us that meditation in general helps us to improve our stress management, sleep management, improve our emotional well-being, relationship building, everything. It has been proven so far. But this particular study says that with the help of transmission, which is the greatest tool of heartfulness, it accelerates the process of transformation. How? By just altering various brainwave frequencies, which every one of us has in our consciousness. Okay, so these states of consciousness we experience every day. Okay, by all of us, it has been experienced. And it can be measured by EEG, which is electroencephalogram. Just putting some wires and electrodes on your head, it can be measured. The brain activities can be measured. So just to give an idea of what the study does, I'll just share a little bit science here. That, as I already said, the state of consciousness is measured using an EEG, which will detect the electrical activity happening in your brain. Okay, we all understand that our brain is active all the time, and brain cells communicate via wires like the electrical impulses. Even in sleep, our brain is not at rest. Okay, it is only the waves keeps on changing depending on how fast we are thinking. Okay, and so as they're all measured in frequency, there are 5 waves in general which is categorized, like gamma waves, beta waves, alpha waves, theta waves, and delta waves. Okay, so the gamma waves is said as the highest frequency. If you see a kid who comes and keeps on asking never-ending questions, and their questions will never end, that's the state where it's like they're the highest frequency. That's where we say that they're the gamma waves. Gamma waves are active. Second is the beta waves, which is a natural conversation we all have, an active conversation. That's beta waves. Alpha is usually said it is activated when you're relaxed, when you are kind of absorbed in something. Okay, suppose you're listening to a good music and you get absorbed in that music, even for 5 minutes or even for 1 minute. That time your alpha waves are active. Then comes theta waves. Theta waves is actually said that it's kind of a sleep state, or you can say it's a meditative state, or it's active when you're kind of drifting into deep sleep. And delta is a very deeper state of sleep, which most of us are not able to even knock that waves. We're not able to touch that wave, so the delta are activated. So these are I'm going into very basics here. So what the study showed that with heartfulness practice of meditation, immediately people were able to target the alpha waves. Not even meditation, I would say relaxation. As soon as the relaxation was started, people were able to activate their alpha waves. It was seen on EEG, and it was very much fascinating. Another thing what they saw that even the seekers were able to dive for a few minutes into a deeper state of delta waves. Delta is like the deep meditation. And even with that, the heartfulness practice of meditation, we were able to dive in or experience that lowest frequency in our brain. I think in the last week session, somebody did ask about how this waves, like why do I feel that I'm sleeping, but I'm not sleeping? I could feel that I was so relaxed in that state. It is only because of these waves, we are tapping into those waves. And that is only happening because the unique thing with heartfulness carries is the pranahuti, the transmission, which we have already discussed in one of the first web series, where we discussed in detail what Pranahuti was. So in this study, that's very clear that it's very easy for us to tap in. They have also concluded that even if you have not meditated in your life, even if you're meditating it for the first time, and you're exposed to the heartfulness meditation with transmission, your consciousness can expand to that level that you can fully feel relaxed. And your mind will attain that heightened state of awareness and perception. You will feel you're sleeping, but you're not sleeping. Because you have relaxed to that state that you feel that you're sleeping. And now it's like why we are sharing all this effect of heartfulness on brain activity, why all the science talk today? Because of the topic of inner poise. Because as soon as we learn to tune into our heart, we learn to listen to our heart, get the mastery of our inner self, it's very easy to externalize it. It's very easy for us to, with the daily practice, bring it in our external world around us, carry that meditative state wherever we go, and gradually with the eyes open as well. So that's why we are sharing with you all this science thing. So now, without wasting much time, I think we should jump into the experience part. It's a well-known proverb which says that the taste of the pudding lies in the eating, right? So let's all prepare ourselves. If you're sitting on a chair or you're sitting on a sofa or on the floor, just adjust yourself, prepare yourself, and let's all go into the experience part. Okay, once we're all ready, gently close your eyes. Now slowly take your attention towards your toes. Wiggle your toes and let it relax. Now feel the healing energy from Mother Earth entering up to your feet and ankles. Releasing all the tension present in your feet and ankles. And you feel relaxed. Now gently feel the healing energy covering your lower legs and your knee joint, releasing any tension present in your complete lower legs as well as your calf muscle. Making you feel very relaxed. Now feel the energy covering your complete upper legs, your hips, and your thighs. Releasing the stress or tension present in your complete upper legs the hips and the buttock area. Feel very relaxed. Feel the energy covering your stomach area and making it feel very relaxed. Slowly feel the energy going up to your tailbone as well as your lower back. Let go of any stress or tension present in your lower back. Making you feel very relaxed. Now slowly feel the energy is covering your complete back, the middle back as well as the upper back. Releasing any stress, tension, heaviness present in your complete back. You start to feel very relaxed. Feel the energy covering your chest area, relaxing your complete chest area. Now the energy is going up to your shoulders, covering your complete shoulders. Release any tension present in your complete shoulder. Let your shoulders melt away. Now slowly feel the energy is covering your both arms, forearms, releasing any tension or heaviness present in your muscles in your arms and forearms. making you feel very relaxed. As this energy is going forward, covering your wrist, palm, the fingers, releasing any tension present in your both wrists, squeezing out of your fingers. You start to feel very relaxed. You feel the healing energy going up to your neck, covering your complete neck, releasing any tension, stress present around your neck. Making you feel very relaxed. So gently bring your awareness to your face, releasing any tension, tightness, or heaviness present in your complete face, including your jaws, lips, nose, cheeks, eyes, eyebrows, forehead, start to feel relaxed. Since the energy has covered your complete face to the top of the head, feel very relaxed from head to toe. Now take a moment and scan your complete system and see if there is any particular area in your body that still feels unwell, heavy, or tight. Give some more attention by bringing the energy to that particular area and immersing that area in the healing energy. Slowly let it relax. Whenever you are done, slowly bring your awareness to your heart. Feel the presence of love and divine energy in your heart. Get immersed in the love and the light present in your heart. This inward presence of divine energy in your heart is pulling you inwards. You're getting absorbed in the presence of divinity present in your heart. Continue to stay absorbed. Do not get carried away with any thoughts or events. Just watch them passing by and continue to remain absorbed in your heart. We'll continue doing that for a few more minutes. That's all. Continue to keep your eyes closed for a while. Observe your complete system. Observe your condition as to how you feel right now. Do you feel relaxed? Do you feel still? Do you feel like you can continue to meditate more? Do you feel energized? Also observe your breathing. Make a mental note of how you feel and gently open your eyes when ready.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ayushi. It was really fantastic. It was very calming for me, at least. I really enjoyed it. Okay, so we will move forward. I hope everyone had a good experience. So let's see, how you felt. So if Arvita ji, if you're available, you can launch the next poll.
Sure, we'll launch the next poll. Thank you.
While the poll comes up, yeah, so the poll is right here. Take a a minute or two to share about, first of all, how did you feel? And that will help you think and ask any questions right after now, we finish off this session. So we will be able to answer any questions you have. That's number one. Number two is this will also help build self-awareness in your system. So that is the second one. So whether you felt it was too much of thoughts or whether it was very peaceful, whatever that your experience could be, but it's important for us to build a level of self-awareness. Why do we have to build the self-awareness? Is next time in our life when we are going through some difficult challenging situation, before we get angry, we should immediately feel that something inside has shifted, and it is not in my the best of the balance. So that will immediately prompt us to be little careful in terms of how we react, what the consequences could be, and everything. So that's the reason why we advise that the self awareness is very key. So take this moment to share your experience, and I will keep moving forward in the meantime. Now I want to share with you all in terms of how you can deepen this entire experience and take it forward, right? First thing is, if you see, every week we have been sharing something new. There is a lot more. What we have just come across in these 4 sessions is just like we have hardly scratched the surface of what heartfulness is. Heartfulness is basically like a life skill. That's what I would say based on my own experience, right? Now, in order for you to get the best of the experience, we have to practice. We have to make it part of our own life. because the more and more we tune into our own inner selves, we begin to experience this sort of a calmness which is pervading within. It will naturally radiate outside. Your kids will feel that you have become more affectionate. Your spouse will feel that you have become more loving. Suddenly your family will feel that you are connecting with people more than your smartphones. That inner changes will happen, which otherwise we will rebel. In fact, you will also begin to feel that you won't take those smartphones inside the toilets whenever you go. All these subtle changes you will begin to notice. Now, the very important thing is when people were to come and advise us to not do certain things, we develop an inner resistance, and we generally don't very easily accept. But what you will find with heartfulness is those which are not conducive for your own inner balance, they will all naturally fall off. So that is something you will begin to notice yourself. So practice is very key. But how are you going to practice it? Now, there are three elements in which you can practice it. First thing is like daily self practice. You see, for those who have been in these 4 sessions, there is a particular work that has happened. So now what will happen is like you yourself can meditate for however long you can in the morning. You can meditate actually anytime during the day. But in the morning time, there is something very peculiar that aids our meditation. There is a science to it. There is also some spiritual reason to it, both of which, we will cover it like, maybe after. I don't want to go into the details of it now. But the key thing is when you begin your day, if you understand meditation is all about connecting into your inner center with the divine presence and then beginning your day, you want your day to begin in the right note. We don't want a day which is like fully, rid with problems, and we are struggling with it. Nobody wants to live a life like that. So the better would be for us to begin our day in such a way that it is beginning in the right note. So connect with the divine center in the morning before you begin your day. So that's number one. How long you meditate? You can meditate for about 5 or 10 minutes, or naturally however long it goes. You will find that the first week it will be about 5 or 10 minutes. Eventually in the second week it will grow to around 20 minutes or 25 without your effort. For example, whatever Ayushi was taking us through, it was like around for 20 minutes we meditated. Now, the question should be for you, did you really feel the 20 minutes? That is something for you to also, ponder over, right? Now, the second thing that I wanted to share with you all is about meditation with a trainer. Now, when you meditate with a trainer, basically this pranahuti can be imparted. It can be channelized into our system. Now, the specialty of this meditation with the trainer is all these emotional baggages that we have accumulated over years. We have been just living with it. Imagine like a balloon tied to a stone, it will never fly. So, the key thing is when we meditate with the trainer, when we have these sessions with the trainer can help in releasing all these things progressively, several sessions, like, as we do it. And the release of it, you will naturally feel in your own inner experiences. For those who have been meditating with us in these last 4 weeks, you yourself should also observe whether your meditation has become progressively easier or not, is something that you should also think over. Now, the third one that I wanted to share with you all is about meditating as a group. It's a group meditation. In the first session, for those who have joined, I touched upon this aspect of about these geosynchronous satellites, and how this emotional intelligence from our human being's heart get pushed into the field that emanates out of our heart, and it travels for several distances. So the key thing is when we meditate with a group, there is a synergy that actually builds. And so what happens when we connect into that particular field and when we meditate, it accentuates our experience. Very important that I wanted to share with you is these three elemental practice, one does not sort of substitute the other. We cannot say that, look, I meditate on my own, so I don't need the trainer, or I meditate with the trainer, I don't need the group meditation. Each one of it has a difference that it adds into it. Each is a building block, one complements to the other. For example, when you meditate with the trainer, the second one, and when you meditate as a group with the trainer, the way or the work that the trainer does itself is very different. And for us, although it may look very simple that I simply do the same process over and over again, what the trainer does is very different. the effect of it is something you can only feel in your own life in terms of how your meditation has improved over a period of time. So that is something that we want to share with you. Besides these three, there is a fourth element that I wanted to share with you. These days, there is a lot of people who have problems with sleep. So what we do every night at 9 o'clock, there is a peace meditation. Whatever we may be doing, we can just stop for 15 minutes, just 15 minutes, 9 to 9:15. There is a YouTube broadcast. You just simply have to connect into it. Let that YouTube play. Whether you feel or not, just close your eyes and thus, stay with that process. There is a trainer who will be working from elsewhere, which will detox our entire system. When you go to bed, you will find that progressively through the rest of the following days, your sleep will become much better. Wouldn't we all want to sleep better? Think about how many times we wake up in the morning thinking that I wish I had another couple of more hours of sleep, although we might have slept for 6 or 7 hours. So, it helps. So, there are several ways in which we have sort of brought in elements which will help our daily life. Now, how can you remain connected with us for the programs, whatever we have, right? The first thing is there is a WhatsApp group. Just go into this one, https://hfnca.link/WhatsApp. It will directly connect you into a WhatsApp group. And this way, whenever any of our group meditations happen or any of our sessions happen, like we are planning some programs for youth and kids as well. All those programs, whenever they happen, you will be in touch with us. So we can let you know. Now, if you feel like, writing to us, always email canada@heartfulness.org. It's a very simple one, easy to remember. Now, if you ever have any questions, Ayushi is waiting there on the phone for you. You can feel free to call her. She's always there, Dr. Ayushi. And then the other way in which you can connect with us is, suppose if you want to still try on a very personal way, right? But we don't want group, you want to try some personal sessions with the trainer. There is a form, https://hfnca.link/meditate. Just go there and then fill your name, indicate the date and time when you think a trainer should be connecting with you. They will reach out to you, and you can say whether you want the trainer to connect with you through email or phone. They will do that, and then you can take it from there based on the mutual convenience, and then you can go from there. You can in fact go to the extent of mentioning the language in which you would want the trainer to communicate with you, because one of the biggest strengths that we have with Heartfulness is we have people who speak Farsi, French, Urdu, Hindi, Telugu, Tamil, like any regional languages, international languages, because Heartfulness is there in 140 countries, right? And Toronto or Ontario being the place of, like, having so many people from so many backgrounds, we can help you in a big way. So this is something that, I would like to leave it on the screen. And if anyone has any questions, we would be very happy to take it now. If you even feel like, sharing how your
Thanks.
experience was, feel free to.
Yes, that would help us.
Well, first of all, just want to thank both of you for taking us through this beautiful journey. And I would echo what Vishwanatha ji was saying previously, that I have attended all four sessions, and I can feel the difference in terms of my own ability to access my inner self. So I could markedly feel the difference. And and secondly, I want to point out that I also noticed the difference in terms of how I was breathing, if, for today's session, especially in the start of the session and towards the end of the session. So I could really notice the difference. And maybe it happened previous sessions too, but as I said before, my ability to notice my own inner self, I felt there was an increase in that.
Wonderful. I'm very happy to hear that one, Arutiji. Arvitaji. Yeah.
Yeah. And I loved your analogy of the tree,
Mm-hmm.
the tree of grounding us from within and taking us deeper. But because right now you're absolutely correct, our mind and our world are just, we're just growing from the outside so much, and there's no limit to that, and there's a lot of potential. But what is going to really ground us is
Yes. Yeah.
what you taught. Good. So I just wanted to see, I know Shailesh Bhargav ji had, oh sorry, Shailesh Bhagavatula ji had shared his experience with the heartfulness. If he would be comfortable to share it with the group today. I'll see if we can.
I think he just raised hand.
Yeah, so I'm trying to. Yes, Shailesh ji, you can go ahead.
No, it was. I have missed the last few sessions. I wasn't aware of this. It was good to hear all of you over the last. I didn't know that this was the fourth of the sessions. I only got the invite for today. My experience with this meditation system has been a few years in the making. My first introduction to this was back in '94 when a work colleague of mine introduced me to Raja Yoga and Chariji. At that time, it was a much different time, and we could just walk up to the Manapakam ashram and we could have tea with Chariji. You know, it was a very small environment. The ashram wasn't what it is today. So since then, I have followed through on and off through the meditation process. I meditate on occasion. I'm not a uh, as regular as I would like to be. Life gets in the way, as they say. But I do still do the 9 p.m. 15 minutes. I haven't completely cut off. So, but I think it is a great, as the health benefits and the research that you shared, uh, they have certainly been touted across all other platforms and other organizations too, whether it is the Art of Living or any of the other organizations which preach meditation, actually take the same approach to the mind, body, and soul approach. Thank you for sharing that.
Most welcome, Shailesh.
That's wonderful. That makes me think of a question. Is the meditation similar to Raj Yoga or is it Raj Yoga?
It is the same thing.
So if it is a question was related to heartfulness, see, there are basically different streams of yoga. So there is a branch called as Jnana Yoga. There is a branch called as Bhakti Yoga. There is a branch called as Kriya Yoga. There is a branch called as Hatha Yoga. There is a branch called as Raja Yoga. Each one is a discipline of yoga, and yoga by the very essence means it is to bring about the union of the individual self, the wandering mind, into the cosmic platform, which is into that superconscious state. So the point is there are different disciplines through which there are several approaches that you can take for the purificatory process to bring about that state. Now, Raja Yoga is also one of those branches, and heartfulness, basically it's a 100-year-old approach, and it was basically taken out of the Raja Yoga philosophy, and it has been sort of made some modifications to it in order to fit our daily life. So as I was saying in the previous sessions, 100 years back, whatever we had, these challenges and the stresses that we had to live through in our life is not the same thing that we are experiencing now.
Right.
So the great thing that I have, relished with heartfulness is there is a continuous stream of research that happens, not just from a scientific standpoint, but on the spiritual standpoint, which is on the field of vibratory patterns of nature. And several discoveries have come about. And that's why I actually said what we know now, or what we just covered in these 4 sections, is basically just the tip of the iceberg, or we have just merely scratched to the surface. There is a lot more for us to learn. And so that probably might have answered whether it is Raja Yoga or not.
Yes. Nicely explained. Thank you. I think Saraswati Madhavanji has also a comment. She's complimented in the chat. It was amazing how easily I slipped into a meditative state during these sessions. Would you like to share your experience with us, Saraswati ji?
Yes, I just wanted to mention that it always seems so much easier with a trainer than when I do it on my own. This seems deeper and more profound. So, and I wish I could gain that same kind of thing when I do it on my own.
No,
Same state.
you will certainly be able to. See, Saraswati ji, I will share with you something just because you brought this up.
Yeah.
You would have seen these transistors, right? The FM transistors. If you tune into 99.9 station, you will hear something playing from there. If you tune into 101.1, you will hear some other thing playing. If you tune into something else, which there is no band at all over there, you will only hear noise. Nothing else will be there. For most of us, because of the hyperactive lifestyle that we have been living, the mind is into that area of noise. It's totally out of tune. Now, during these sessions with the trainer, because of the nature of work, what they do on the system, the heart gets tuned continuously. And that's the reason why it comes into a particular band where it is able to receive better this pranahuti. And the effect of it is what you basically feel. Now, the key thing is in heartfulness, whatever we are able to do with the trainer within the 2 weeks or like, within even a week, things will change drastically where you will be able to get those sort of same experiences by doing your own daily meditation too. So there are certain adjustments and certain aspects or nuances of the practice that the trainers will be able to guide you and help you. And that when you try to follow, you yourself will be able to feel those things.
Great. Thank you.
Yes.
Because I've been trying on and off, and it's always been not as deep as it has been now.
See, at the end of it, if you see, it is just like 1 square feet, right? From our brain all the way into our heart.
Yeah.
Square feet. But this 1 square feet to access, we struggle a lot because we don't know the method and the techniques. But when we have something so profound like heartfulness, and at the same time, which is something much easier, like heartfulness, where you don't have to rely on any trainers. You don't have to go to their places. You don't have to spend money at all. You don't have to pay for any sessions. Just bank on experiences. Then that experience and your heart will guide you. So connect with us, and we look forward to helping you out further. Generally, what our experience has been that we have people come to us, the experience, and within the matter of next week or so, they will introduce their next spouse most likely, because if you see in a family, husband and wife living, right? If let's say a husband is meditating and like they are very calm and quiet, but wife is not, or the vice versa, both of them doesn't really help as a family, right? So generally what we have found is within the first 2 to 3 weeks we will find that the person brings their spouse, so they can continue to live that state. And if they basically have kids who are moving into adolescence, they will also bring their kids too. That's also another experience we have had, because generally kids, due to the hormonal issues and everything, they will find that there is this newfound freedom or whatever, and they will begin to question, which will only make much bring more challenges and difficulties, right? So they will also bring about their kids, because one, they are into too many things to study, too much of competition pressure. At the same time, they also want their kids to not lose their connection with them, right? So they also bring their kids too. So this is something that we have found it, it's a very common experience we have. And slowly we find that the entire family becomes a heartfulness family. Basically, by heartfulness family, what we mean is people begin to live a heart-centered lifestyle. So it's basically more of feeling than with the heart, not with the mind.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
That's very encouraging.
Vishwanathanji has been very encouraging us from the first session. That's what we really like about you. But that also, your explanation, last explanation, makes me think about another question: does Heartfulness have program for kids?
We do. So if there are kids from 5 to 15, right? We generally don't, pester them with meditation, and we don't make it very intensive and difficult for them, because kids basically will have to enjoy their childhood, right? And when they get exposed to all these pressures is during their adolescence, which is somewhere around, let's say, 14, 15 years, when they begin to understand life, why they have to really take up certain disciplines in their life and everything. So what we generally do is, like, when the child generally enters into a 15 years of age, we want to give this life skill. And so we generally help the kids in a very different way. So for example, I am going to tell you all something. Heartful Schools is very, 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 very famous. Like, I think around 650 schools or so in US has this curriculum, heartfulness curriculum in schools.
Wow.
And as a matter of fact, I don't want to drop names, but there are some school boards which are in touch with us. And, we are trying to set up a team, because it's all little new for Canada. And, to be very honest. And so we are setting up a team. They're going through some trainings, and we are very soon going to be starting those things. So that's for anyone who is over 15 years. For kids from 5 to 15, the challenge, what happens is there is this childish ego, right? They look at a candy and they say, this is exactly what I want. And if you ask them to look anywhere, they'll say, you first get me that and then we will talk anything else, right? So that is this childish ego. So sometimes parents struggle with it, and more so their things have got amplified now with all these electronic gadgets that have come in the way. And if the kids were to be asked to connect with us, they connect more with the gadgets than with us. It's just with the virtual world that we have started to enter in, right? So now what happens, there is a program called as Brighter Minds that we do. You see, kids from 5 to 15, scientifically, they have something called as neuroplasticity. This is not a joke. If you have seen, kids who are like around 7, 8 years of age can take up to 6 languages parallelly and simultaneously, and that anybody who is over 15 cannot, because neuroplasticity is basically like a sponge. So if the more you pour, it can absorb easily. So that's how our brain structures are between 5 to 15. So inculcating right skill sets and right techniques are very, very important, because that's exactly what forms. This is also what in science it's called as epigenetics. It's a field of study. I'll share all those things later on. But in essence, what we do through that Brighter Minds program is like the kids are put through brain entrainment exercises. Now, through that, what happens is their left and the right brain hemispheres begin to synchronize when bringing about what is called as hemispherical synchronization. So while as adults, they use their left brain a lot for cognitive processes, through this process, they will also stimulate their right brain, which is basically more for intuition, calmness, inner seeking, that kind of thing. What will happen is, like, when they have these choices, which discipline I have to take, do I have to become a lawyer, do I have to become a sports person, whatever, their heart will give them indications, very strong indications. And so they don't have to rely on their mind, but the heart will give very clear indications of what they want to do in their life. And so even if kids were to be like, given a choice, like, do I have to sit and study math versus I have to go to a pub with my, or like party with my friends, the 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 sign of the conscience, the signals from the conscience will be very strong. We would have all experienced it. Whenever you felt uneasy, you would feel that uneasiness in your heart.
Yeah.
Even if you push to say, like, I'm going to do this one, if you care a damn about what others say and you do it, you will feel that uneasiness very strongly, which you cannot duck or dodge. Those kind of things will come to the kids. And so this is how you teach them how to fish in this world, which is very difficult, right? So we have programs there as well. As a matter of fact, even now there are programs which are going with Brighter Minds, and even my daughter is also going through those ones too.
That's wonderful. Thank you for letting us know about this, because I know a lot of our viewers have young kids, and this is a question on all of our mind, not just as adults. How do we channel our energies to our inner self, but also for our kids, and giving them the valuable skill to then take it forward and become adults in our society, and be able to do what they want to do, but also maintaining the sense of balance while doing it.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, we have a comment from Christiane. Thank you for a wonderful meditation. I meditate mostly on my own on a semi-regular basis. Today I was able to go deep with your guidance and feel very grateful for the experience.
It's a great pleasure and honor for us to be all with you, Christian. So we look forward to be seeing you more often. Connect with us.
Yeah, everybody's like writing down semi-regular basis. I hope that you guys can join us on a regular basis and learn more and more about it, because it's actually kind of exploration, The more you dive within, it's kind of a fun exploration every time you come get exposed to new
See,
things.
most of the time, the reason why we are not able to bring in regularity is if something is not motivating or inviting, right?
Yeah.
Think about that. You have to like stand upside down or run for like a kilometer every single day before you can experience something deep. It'll be very challenging. So it's basically the experience which invites us, which motivates us. And especially if you also begin to understand like what happens within you to bring about that experience, either it's all lopsided towards knowledge and we don't understand, or we don't have any experience of it. So we just only live with books. I read this book, I have read 10 books, 20 books, and we spend 20 years talking about meditation, but haven't felt anything. Or it is on the other side, we experience so many things but we have no clue, like whether I am on the right track or wrong track, or why the hell I have some experiences. There is no explanation that we can give. But when you have an organic blend of both, right, you experience something and you also know why you experience it, then it sort of adds a thrill, because you look forward to what's next, right?
Wonderful.
That's very true.
Okay, we have another comment, very beautiful comment. To you all who are with Heartfulness, I gratefully thank you for these 4 wonderful sessions with guided techniques to bring US, the attendees, me, to the place of a warmth of heart. Inner peace and the heart-centered philosophy is so needed, especially during these months of worldwide affected pandemic effects of COVID-19. May we all be safe, healthy, and offer comfort to all of us as living beings, animals, flora, fauna of Mother Nature.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for joining, Linda. And this is anyway the last session, but it doesn't mean that we meet for the last time, right?
Yeah.
May this be the beginning. So the very reason why we take our family time and we are spending all this time with you all is we really aspire for a better world, for our kids to live in a better world, and to help everyone around, in whatever way we can, because the competition has to give way for compassion. At least that we should be learning in this particular pandemic time. So we really look forward to be connecting with you all. Feel free to connect with us, and we will be happy to connect with you, spend time, share whatever we have learned and come across. And thereby, you can see the effect for yourself. Again, this is a no obligatory approach. So just because you connect with us doesn't mean that there is any sort of obligation you're going to have. So you can always continue, see it for yourself, and then take it according to your own pace. Okay.
Thank you so much, Linda, for that beautiful comment. And I think all our attendees, I'm going to urge all of you to connect with Heartfulness, but also at the same time, I want to remind everyone for the International Yoga Day on June 21st, we're collaborating again with you, with the Heartfulness Institute, and offering Yoga in Canada Summit. So I'm really looking forward to that and to build on what we have already learned so far. And I'm surprised when you say we have just scratched the surface, because you have given us 4 absolutely different experiences in these 4 sessions. So I'm looking forward to going deeper in learning what it is.
Yeah, definitely.
We have the time till International Yoga Day, so we can all, before that, we can all dive within more, try to at least learn and explore more with Heartfulness practice. We'll wait to hear from you guys. And because of this virtual world, you don't have to come and see us also, or travel some long places. Just log in and we are there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the way I visualize this is there's a lake of, substance available. It's for our readiness, if we are ready to dip in it, right? If you want to dip in just our toes, our feet, or our whole body and soul, it really depends on us. So it's our readiness to interact with you.
That's wonderful, Arvita. That's a very beautiful way of putting it out. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to ask anyone else if you have any other comments or questions for Dr. Ayushi and Vishwanathanji. Okay, there are a few more compliments coming. Saraswati ji said that thank you once again, and I won't be able to pronounce the name correctly, so I won't say that. Another participant noted that thank you for a great experience. It's a new beginning. So I love that some of our attendees are feeling that way, that it is a new beginning for us to start something new and great. And thank you for the sessions, Ms. Alice Wong noted. It's a way, it was a way for me to connect with myself. Great work.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you again for being here and leading us through these wonderful sessions. And the journey will continue. It's not the end, it's just the beginning.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the hospitality, and especially taking us into your own family. So thank you, TGIF. So thanks everyone, Arvita ji, Bala uncle, everybody. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you so much. Namaste. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Thank you.